Hello everyone, and welcome to Counselor Your Future Friday. I'm your host, Brian Urban. In these features, we hope to give you some simple tips, tidbits, and tricks to make your days easier and your patients happier. In this feature, we're going to talk about how to activate and utilize automated credit card surcharge fees. Now, if you're not familiar with credit card surcharge fees, it's a practice where you can automatically add a specific percentage to the patient's amount due based on the amount of the transaction. So as I go through this, I'll make it a little clear if you're not already familiar with that concept. Now, a couple very important things. First off, this feature is only available if you utilize Gravity Payments, also known as ChargeItPro. The second thing is that the initial step in activating surcharging is by talking directly with Gravity Payments. They'll talk you through the specific terms around it and then activate it on their side first. So before anything happens in Counselor, you want to have a conversation with Gravity Payments to get the feature activated and make sure everything is done properly. Okay. Once you have had the conversation with Gravity Payments and they give you the go-ahead, what you do first is you would go into your clinic list. So this is administration and then clinic list. And I'm going to go ahead and edit a clinic. Within here, we're going to click on the financials tab and then specifically here jump to the credit card payments. Now this account's not set up for this credit card processing, but just to give you an example of where we'd be focusing here. We're going to look right here on the surcharging area. And you'll see there is some language as well you will want to review what I just mentioned, but first it's enabled through Gravity Payments. And then some other considerations regarding how it actually works. I'm going to show you how that works right now. So if you have the go-ahead from Gravity Payments, you would go ahead and check off this box. You'll then see that two options pop up. The first is the surcharge fee type. This is the line item type where you want this fee to be associated, right? So when it's added to an invoice, you want to say, okay, this is a fee. Right, that's the type. Now within the type, you pick the actual item, right? So this is all needed to basically classify this additional amount that you're adding to the invoice to cover the cost of the credit card processing fee. Okay, so I'm going to say, we'll use this one here that's set up for credit card surcharge fee. So once we have it in place, we'll click close and then we'll click save. Okay, and that will lock in those changes for that clinic. Now, of course, if you have multiple locations, you'll want to repeat this process for each location. Okay, once you have it all set up, then you can start using it right away. So I'm going to jump here into an invoice where there's an amount due, okay, $90.73. I'm going to go ahead and take a credit card payment like you would normally, right? So nothing really changes here. The only difference here is I'm going to key in the card. Typically you'd be using a chip reader, whatever device you have. But I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to add the full amount due, $90.70. And then, like I said, in this case, I'll leave this as keyed transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and start that processing and put in my keyed number here. Now, when the processing occurs, whether you key it in or you're chip reading or whatever the case may be, you're going to then see the surcharge amount. There is additional information if you want to look at this. Typically, you're going to already know about this. This won't be a surprise to you. But if you want, you can click the Learn More, and it talks more specifically about the surcharge. In this case, in this test account, we have a 3% surcharge set up. That does not necessarily mean that that's what you have to do. You would talk with Gravity Payments about the specific percentage that you want applied to every credit card payment. Okay. So you, of course, enter the information. In this case, if you're keying it in, or use a chip reader. If you get partway through this and realize, oh, this, maybe you're not sure if the card would have a surcharge or not, you'll know at this point. And maybe you inform the patient and say, oh, you know what, let me use a debit card. You can just simply click back here and it'll start the process over, and they give you the other card, and then you run that one, right? And then maybe that one won't have a surcharge, okay? But in this case, we're going to move forward with the card as it is. And so now we're going to say pay $93.45. When we do this, of course, it's going to run the card. Then what Counselor will do is grab this information, and right away it adds a new item. So this was not here before. This is the type, fees, that we selected a moment ago, the item, credit card surcharge fee, and the amount. So this is 3% of the total payment. Now, I want to highlight that just because I paid the full amount, it is a surcharge on the payment. So if a patient's paying maybe through multiple payments, it's going to be 3% on that transaction. Okay, so in this case, it came out to 272. So it automatically added that item. Now back in the payments tab, if you apply payments, right, this is the practice where you can say that you want a specific amount of dollars to go towards, designate where it goes, basically. Then you simply just click apply payments. We're going to see the original amount of the 9073. We're going to see the surcharge of the 272. And by the way, you may notice this already, but the payment amount, of course, is the sum of those two, right? So the total payment from the patient is the original amount plus the surcharge. Now, when I simply click update here, it's going to lock in that applied payment. Some of you may not apply payment, that's perfectly fine. But if you do, you would simply click update, and now we'll see that payment, the 93.45, in place, right? So if you have surcharging activated, this would just be a routine process. As you are taking the payment via credit card, Gravity Payments is going to do a check and see, does a surcharge apply to this account, to this card, very generically, maybe because the type of the card, whether it's debit or a credit card. Okay, so you'll know on the fly. You do not have to make that determination. Once the payment is taken, counselor takes it from there. It adds the item and the type and the item that you wanted with the specific amount that Gravity has determined is the surcharge amount. So makes it very simple from your standpoint to implement surcharging on a consistent basis for all credit card transactions, and then have that accurately reflected within the invoice, on the invoice statement, and of course communicating over to QuickBooks or Xero as well. If you have any questions about the process for setting up surcharging within Counselor, please give us a call, email us, live chat us. If you have questions, of course, about the initial steps in getting surcharge activated, please reach out to your Gravity Payments rep and they will help you from there. All right. Thank you very, very much for joining us for today's Counselor Feature Friday. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.